and apparently I'm live on YouTube again. So there are a few things to talk about this week too. I'll just have a look at the stream to see if there's anyone in here or if I'm not still. See if I can figure this thing out. Oh, here it is. Let's see. So I wrote down 3 things to talk about today. And those 3 things are, well, we have the Peoplekind thing, which is really stupid. Let's see here. Technology is not my friend, so I'm kind of just trying to get things to work. Anyway, did you see that video with Justin Trudeau when some woman asked him a question, or she said something about the love of motherhood or something like that? And I don't know if that woman was left or whatever. That doesn't really matter. But the absurd thing about this was how he interrupted her, and he said, "We'd like to call it Peoplekind, and not necessarily mankind." The funny thing is also, I saw an old video of Justin Trudeau when he talked about how to be a good male feminist and that you should never interrupt a woman. But wasn't that what he did, by the way? But doesn't he subscribe to these crazy gender ideas that tells you that you can be whichever gender you want to? So I guess he could argue that he was really interrupting a man. I don't know. Yeah, hello to the people who are in the chat. Nice to see you here. So yeah, I mean, Justin Trudeau, that guy really gets me going. What I've seen of his policies, he's trying to turn Canada into the new Sweden, and I'm not kidding. And Stephen Harper, I kind of like that guy, but Trudeau is just too much. I really hope that the Canadians will wise up and elect someone else fast. Yeah, I've heard that there are rumors about him being Castro Jr. I have looked at the pictures, and I don't know. My take on this is possible. Let's see. That's right, Sealand, and Trudeau's not a deep thinker. I mean, did this guy ever have a real job before he entered politics? Does anyone know that? I would like to know that. So, let's see. We also have the story of, what was his name again? Kaiser something? Oh, it's Kaiser Mahmoud, who has been appointed head of the Swedish National Heritage Board. And he is a Pakistani-born Muslim. And I guess you could argue that that would not necessarily make him unfit, although that would make you a little suspicious. But he stated that he hasn't read anything about Sweden's cultural heritage. That's kind of all I need to know. A Pakistani-born Muslim who never studied Sweden's cultural heritage. Why on earth do you appoint a guy like that as head of the cultural heritage in Sweden, if you want to preserve it, I mean? Lars Agerbeck says, question, is it true that Löfven has good ratings in Sweden? Not the numbers I've seen. I mean, to me it looks like, and I haven't checked the numbers recently, but to me it looks like the Social Democrats are somewhere around 20-25%, and they kind of stay at that level. And that's low to be the Social Democrats. They used to be 35-40%, something like that. I mean, in the recent past. If we go back to the 60s, they were, I think they got 50% in one of the elections in the 60s, but that won't happen again. And it's kind of like you have the Social Democrats, the moderate coalition party, the Swedish so-called conservative party. They're not conservative at all. And the Sweden Democrats, and they're all kind of fighting on who is the biggest party. So the election this fall will be interesting. I don't think I will be able to follow it from Sweden because I might be somewhere else then. But who knows? Maybe I will be able to go to Sweden to follow the election. Otherwise, I assume I will do a live stream on election night in Sweden and just follow the news and comment on that. And then we have Denmark. My favorite, FVVT Simpson N, something like that, says, what is your favorite American soul food? Actually, I'm not sure what soul food is. I've heard of it, but I guess I might have tried one or two without thinking about it, so I can't really respond to that. Well, Sealansen, I am writing on a book, and I'm looking for a job overseas. I guess I could say that now because I think I've been pretty open about trying to relocate to the US. And I guess we could take the hot potato about Denmark here, because from what I've seen, there are still discussions in Denmark to banning burqas and niqabs in public, and that as far as I have seen, there hasn't been a vote in parliament yet on it. And a few days ago, the Danish People's Party, Dansk Folkeparti, expected this proposal to get a majority in parliament. But whatever happens, I think the Danish politicians are at least saner than the Swedish ones. They're saner than the Norwegian ones and the Finnish ones too, but compared to Sweden, well, Sweden sort of takes the cake. In Denmark, they at least to some degree they discuss the problems with Islamic immigration. Sealansen says, sorry I missed you when you passed near Chicago. Well, Sealansen, we might be able to meet up some other time. I usually fly to and from Chicago when I'm visiting America. There seems to be a lot of sugar in here. A source, guys, 555 says, I wonder if women are complying with the burqa ban in Denmark. Actually, the ban is not a law yet. We'll see what happens. But as far as I understand, the first time that you would well, not get arrested, but they would get you for breaking that law, they would fine you with 1,000 Danish kroner. That is how much? 1,300 Swedish or Norwegian kroner. That would be $150 or something like that. And the second time, I think it was 10,000 kroner, which would be $1,500 or something in that way. Lars Auger says, but don't you think such a ban is anti-democratic? Well, actually, Lars Auger, as I think I said in the video, you could argue that government shouldn't legislate what people can and cannot wear. But we are living in extreme times, and extreme times sometimes take extreme measurements. Damien Suster says, hi from Poland. When are you coming to visit us? I'm traveling to Gdansk in the north of Poland on March 15th, and I'm staying there until March 19th. And I might be meeting with at least one Pole to discuss what's going on in Poland. I'm waiting to hear from him again, but we have been discussing that. The Art of Random says, are some people fleeing Sweden? Actually, immigration from Sweden has increased in the last few years. I just saw a graph of that when I was looking for statistics on how many people immigrated to Sweden, and they had the immigration on the same chart. I don't know how many of these are people who are native-born Swedes and how many people return to their old home countries. But I am under the impression that there is a brain drain from Sweden. Swedes with skills are leaving Sweden and going to the UK, to the US. They used to go to Canada. I'm not too sure about that right now. I think they might go to Australia too. I think they go wherever they can get a visa as long as the country is better than Sweden. James said, "What is your book about?" Well, the book I'm writing is about Sweden. So the title, until at least so far, is Understanding Sweden. So I'm digging into Swedish mentality, Swedish mindset, Swedish history. What made the Swedes so odd? What is the reason that the Swedes are the way they are? The George guy says, "Oh, I got my first super chat. One says, enjoy your channel, keep it up." Oh, I will, Sealansen. You know, as a general comment, I started this channel roughly a year ago, January last year. And to begin with, I just started making videos because things annoyed me. And I didn't have a plan at all. That's just how I started because of one specific thing. And that was a Finnish case. The Sebastian Tynkenes. He is a young politician from the Finns party. And he had to stand trial for writing anti-Islamic things on Facebook. And that case got me started. To begin with, I made a Facebook video where I was commenting on this, not on my own Facebook page, but on a page I have. Well, I actually already had a Facebook page called En Svensk Talar, which means a Swede speaks. And then I realized maybe I should produce it for YouTube or something. So that's what got me started. And after a while, well, I met someone who is good at technology. I'm not. I'm still trying to figure things out, but I've got one in my life who figures technology out for me, and then she teaches me how to do these things. I would never be able to live stream. She hadn't taken the time and energy to teach me step by step how to do this when I was in Wisconsin, a week ago. Let's see. A source guys, 555. Oh yeah, so sad, wanting to destroy and take the artifacts and therefore culture and history of Sweden. Yeah, that's right. I forgot to comment on that. I think that's true. That are really throwing away artifacts. I saw that Angry Foreigner made a video on that. I could see that's a legit story, and I mean it's crazy. A source, guys. I'm in Sweden physically. You are? Interesting. I mean, okay. I hope you're having fun. I'm in Norway physically. I might go to Sweden again soon. We'll see, because there are things going on in a place south of Stockholm a place that I know a little too well. I don't know. I have to look at my money and see if I can afford going to Sweden for a few days. I've been doing a lot lately, and I'm going to Poland in March. And apart from that, I don't really have any travel plans now. Hey, Pinochet says, "Hey, pal." Yeah. Hey, nice to see you here. The Art of Random says, "How is Norway doing Islam-wise?" When we look at Norway, to me, it's like Norway, if Sweden does something crazy, follow 5 or 10 years later. Sweden today is Norway 10 years into the future, sadly. And when I landed in Oslo on February 6th, 4 days ago, and I was really hit by the local news about young people attacking each other with knives and stuff like that had been going on in one of the no-go areas of Oslo. And that's just the last few days. There's a meeting week about it. I am arguing whether I should go or not, but if I go, I need to keep a really low profile. Maybe I should just record the conversation with my phone or something, because in that area, most of the people are Muslims, and if they knew what I'm up to, that might not be safe. Lars Agerbeck says, a new bill on family reunion between immigrants in Denmark and their family abroad differentiates between new Danes who live in immigrant ghettos and those who live among Danes. Oh, interesting. So it's kind of a assimilation thing. If you have assimilated, they will go easier on you. A source guide 555 says, also snow up near Östersund. Yeah, I assume it should be. Östersund is in the north of Sweden and it's inland, so they should have a lot of snow. I've never been there, sadly. I have been to the north of Sweden, but not there in Östersund. You know, a source, guys, if you have family in the Östersund area, maybe you should ask them if they know that that part of Sweden used to be Norwegian. All the Norwegians know that. Lars Agerbeck says, assimilation bill. Exactly, yes. I believe in assimilation. In Scandinavia, politicians like to talk about integration, a word that no one can define. No one knows really what integration means. Integration could, for instance, mean that both the old Swedes or the old Danes or the old Norwegians and the new people should integrate and turn into something else. Or it could mean that the newcomers should assimilate into the country they moved to voluntarily. And in that case, it's just a lot better. It's just much better to talk about assimilation because that makes it really clear. And I don't care what people wear at home. I don't care what people eat at home. No problems. Or, I mean, if people want to eat kebab, fine with me. That's not a problem. The problem is the values. Do you share the values or not? And if not, why do you want to live in the West? Complexity Rule says, hi, it seems to me that for the welfare and justice system to work, the most members of society needs to do his or her part and have a certain level of trust to the system. That's actually a good point. I am not in favor of the welfare state as such, but if we're going to have one, you need to have people who are loyal to that system, who trust their peers, and most importantly, who do their best to participate in it, to go to work and pay their taxes. And that's not a system that I promote per se, but it kind of worked when Sweden was homogeneous, when everyone shared more or less the same values. It's not working very well with multiculturalism. William Marshall says, what's your feelings on election in Sweden later this year? That's going to be really interesting. I think, and I hope that the Green Party will fall out of parliament, and that would be really good, because the Green Party have been able to manipulate both and the moderates, and they are not that large, but they have been able to get through their policies. And the Green Party is not all about environmentalism; it's about that too, but they are a lot about open borders and things like that, multiculturalism. So if they would be out of parliament, that could improve things. Some of their voters probably go to other parties, like the Feminist Initiative or the Left Party, but I don't think the Feminist Initiative will be able to get into parliament. So that would be good. Oh, so Asset says Swede. Hello, As. But when it comes to who will form a government, which party, I think the Sweden Democrats will be either the largest or the second largest party. And the Social Democrats, they will be the largest or the second largest party. I think it stands between those two sides. I'm not sure. I speculate whether Sweden will have a government consisting of the Social Democrats and the moderates. That could be interesting. I'm not really for it. I'm not really against it either. I'm kind of in the middle there, because if those two would form a government, you would get rid of all the crazy parties, although the Social Democrats have a lot of crazy to them too, and the moderates have a lot of crazy to them too. But if we could take the saner parts, that would be better than what we have now. Vlad the Third says, Swede, Italian elections looks promising. Yeah, what's going on in Italy? I just heard they had an election. Lars Agerbäck asks me, do you know Peter Sweden? He's a Christian too. Maybe you could do an interview or a live stream. I don't know him personally, but I follow his channel. I follow him on Twitter. Some comment on his videos and on his tweets. But I haven't gotten any response yet. But hopefully I will eventually. I think he might have watched a few of my videos because it looks like he might have been inspired sometimes. I mean, I can't tell this for sure. But when I made my civil war in Sweden, just one day later, he made a video about civil war in Sweden. But that could be a coincidence, I don't know. The source guy says, Peter was sure upset that the sister of that woman who was attacked him for caring about her sister. Yeah, I saw that video. That was just crazy stuff. So, but I wasn't surprised. I mean, if you are politically correct in Sweden, or anywhere in the West, I guess, you will reason that way. And I don't know what it takes to wake these people up. I don't think you can wake up the people who are real believers in political correctness. However, I think that the people who are not very ideological, the people who are followers, I believe the population are followers. What we need, I used to say this, and I'll say it again, what we need is critical mass. And critical mass on like 6 to 10% who actively think something and who actively promote something, and then people will follow them. So that's really what I think we need. We don't need a majority, we need critical mass. Let's see what assets. This could be interesting. Swede, I'm in the middle of a financial issue, but I want to try to head to Poland for the Independence Day this year. I'm excited. Actually, I asked if I should go to Poland for the same reason on that day. I'm going there in March, but I think Independence Day is in November, I think. Exactly, Sealand saying critical mass. A source, guys. 555 says, I think Peter has a point about some Swedes being more loyal to the state than they are to their family. That situation kind of demonstrates that. Actually, that's exactly what I'm saying. What happened in Sweden was that big government replaced family. There is a movie called The Swedish Theory of Love. If you could find it on YouTube, you should watch it. It's about the radical policies Sweden that started 1968, 1970, something like that, when Olof Palme became prime minister. And Olof Palme was a social democrat, but he was a very radical social democrat. By the way, he came from an upper class family, so I think he was kind of he was radicalized intellectually, but he didn't have any I mean, he wasn't the working class guy, so I don't think he really was in touch with reality. He was in touch with his ideas. And the idea that was promoted in Sweden was that government should take care of everyone. That would make women independent of their husband. Children would be independent of their parents. Old people would be independent from their adult children. And what happened was that the family was just destroyed. I mean, sure, there are still families in Sweden, but they legalized abortion. Divorces went up. Most people in Sweden today, unless they are actual Christians, or I guess most or something, they don't even get married because they don't see the point in that. They don't see what difference does it make. Although living with someone without being married actually is a recipe to disaster. That's been shown even in secular research. Oh, let's see. See if I find something. Bud Ferret says, I see no race, only people, some more civilized others. I'm not sure where that one goes. I agree with that part. The rest, I'm not so sure about that. But, you know, I promote Western civilization. That's kind of what I do. And I consider it, well, Western civilization is the Judeo-Christian civilization built on the heritage from Jerusalem, Athens, and Rome, combined with Magna Carta, with the Anglo-American tradition of liberty. That's kind of what I'm for. Let's see. Lars Agerbeck says, "What is?" Oh, let's see. One moment. What is your favorite ABBA song? And do you drive a Volvo? I don't drive a Volvo. I don't listen that much to ABBA. I mean, I could listen to some of their songs, but I have to think really hard now. I'm not really sure. I don't want to say money, money, money. I liked that one when I was a secular liberal, but now I don't like that message really. But it could be, of course, understood sarcastically. Sealansen says, seeing others' faces is important in society. I agree with you on that. And actually, I don't think banning burqas and niqabs in public is that's not really undemocratic, because I think people should show their face ID. I mean, if I would walk around wearing what do you call these masks that you put on, that some people put on in winter, balaclava, something like that. If I would walk around town like that, people would be uncomfortable around me too. As it says, Swede, when your US tour? I was in the US until Monday, was it? Yes, I left the US this time on Monday, February 5th, and I eventually landed in Oslo on February 6th. I had the layover at Heathrow, and that was interesting, because leaving the Midwest, which is a place I like, at least the small town part of it. I mean, I probably wouldn't like to live in Milwaukee or Madison, but the small town part of it I think is fine. On Heathrow, on the first thing I see is a sign that says prayer room, and they depict someone sitting on their knees, like a Muslim prayer. As the last one is correct. I was in Wisconsin. I've well come. I'll give out the state, but not the town, because there might be people who want to do bad things to me. So I don't want to be too specific on my whereabouts. But the state of Wisconsin is big enough. As it says, come visit Michigan. Yeah, Michigan, that's far away. We should meet sometime. Okay. A source guide says, but also it is so oppressive to dress like that, and they are in a free country, but they are choosing the oppressive ways of the place that they had to leave, which is strange. I think I don't think all of these people are really refugees. Some of them might be, but I think a lot of people go to the West to get benefits, and that would explain why someone who leaves Syria or maybe Afghanistan or wherever they came from, they go to Turkey, but they won't stay in Turkey. And Turkey is a safe country. They will walk from Turkey through Europe all the way up to Sweden or Norway, because rumor has told them that they will get more benefits here. But anyway, yes. I saw some story, or I read something about Muslim men in Norway being told in mosques to make sure their daughters start wearing the hijab from an early age, because that way they won't refuse to wear it when they become teenagers. K-Man says, keep spreading the word, my friend. Well, I will. The source guide says, I agree, and keep the oppressive ways. Yeah, I have a friend in Sweden who is an ex-Muslim, and he talks about how many Muslims in Sweden, they are only in Sweden physically, but mentally they are somewhere else. And they would say they like Swedish benefits, but they don't like Swedish culture. As it says, also sweet. Next time you're up north, and whatever state I can a week that I don't have custody of my kids. I would love that. Worst case, we could eat halfway. Yeah, we might be able to work that out. Uh, I'm looking for jobs in Wisconsin right now. Well, not this very moment, but I'm in a process of trying to find a job in Wisconsin because I need a visa. And the way Western Europe goes, I think that might be the same decision. Plus, my fiance is American, and I told her, "No, you are not moving to Europe." And after, and that's and I think she agrees. And see, I've been able to compare Scandinavia to the Midwest, and I prefer the Midwest. Let's see. Lars Agerbeck says there was a Swede who prophesied that Sweden had to ask his neighboring countries for military aid against gang violence. What do you think? Is this possible? It looks very possible to me that that could happen. I mean, if we're going to speak a little Christianese, I've heard of some other prophecy about civil war in Sweden, and that prophecy was from the 60s, I think. I mean, I'm undecided. I don't know. I say trifling by the Bible, so we'll see. But the way Sweden goes is possible. We of the People says, come visit South Carolina. Actually, I plan to visit every US state and every European capital. Hopefully, the European capitals will be safe enough. Oh, William Marshall. Yeah, I should try to keep to not be too personal. Sometimes it's difficult. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading comments, and there's something else I could talk about. The K-Man says, will Sweden become fully Muslim? I don't think Sweden will become fully Muslim in the short run, but I think that Islam in Sweden will not be nicer than Islam in Iran or Islam in Saudi Arabia. So I think Islamization is something real going on in Sweden. And I fear that Swedes will wake up too late. And at that point, and also I believe that, I mean, people like me, I sometimes get comments about how I should go fighting the Muslims in the streets and stuff like that. First of all, I don't do street fighting unless there's a real war, because that's stupid. I would get locked up, and in that case, I couldn't influence anyone. Second of all, the way Scandinavia works, if you're not politically correct, you will have a lot of trouble. I don't see why I really owe these countries anything anymore. But what I'm doing is I'm using Sweden as a warning example. I hope that Sweden will turn around, but I doubt it. But if it does, I will use Sweden as a shining example of what could. If it would turn around and become a good country, I would say, do like Sweden. But as long as they're not, I'll say, don't do like Sweden. Lars Agerbeck says, what do you think about Angry Foreigner? I used to watch his videos. I usually like them. I mean, he's a little different from me. I think he's more leftist when it comes to culture, but I think he drew the conclusion that you can't combine a welfare state with open borders. I guess he met conclusion, but I think he likes some of the things. I think he likes welfare and stuff like that. I think that's not a good thing. Welfare is like a drug, and you should stay away from it. But when it comes to our opinions on the big threat towards Sweden and the West right now, I think we agree. Sealansen says he cusses more than you. Yes, he does. He is not a Christian. I think he is culturally Muslim, but I think he is a believer in any religion. I think he was a Satanist, but I think he left that. Let's see. As it says, violence is a last resort. Yes, agreed. And he also says, I never read cuss. No, I avoid that. I almost did once when I was really angry, but that was not in a video. But I usually don't. Sometimes I have to translate things that happen in Sweden and Norway and translate what they've been saying. And then I might translate a curse word, although I usually use the nicer translation. Yeah, let's see. As it says, Christian roots made this world what it is. I'm not Christian, but was raised with ideals that are their roots. Well, we agree on that part, Asset. And the funny thing is that, I don't talk about Africa much. That's a continent that I'm not following much, but I happen to know that there is one African country that's going really well, and that's the country Botswana. And Botswana has 79% Christian believers, and I think that's the big key to their success. They have gone from a third world country to a middle income country in 1 generation. Seelansen says, stay true to yourself. Right. Yes, you have to. Even if this means that I probably sacrificed any future career I could have in Sweden or Norway. But if I'm not true to myself, I can't sleep. And I can't look at myself in the mirror and stuff like that. And those are things that bother me. Lars Agerbeck says, from what I hear, Swedish media changed with the refugee crisis, and that the debate in mainstream media and among Swedish politicians too. Is this true? Can you describe it? Yes, thinks that that's true. I mean, basically, yes, it's true. What happened is that when the migrant hit Europe 2014, 2015, I think it was 2015, we got really big hit. And to begin with, only the Sweden Democrats would say that this is not good. This is not going to be good. And the other parties, the mainstream media, they would just say, "Oh, you're just a bunch of racists." But then they started changing their what they were saying, but they won't admit that they were wrong, and they won't admit that Sweden Democrats were right. I mean, basically, I don't agree with the Sweden Democrats on everything. I can't agree with them on immigration policies. But yeah, that's what happened. And well, if you watch This Week in Sweden, I report on the moderate coalition party, the so-called conservative party. They want the Swedish government to start telling about the cost of immigration, and they start saying immigration is not profitable for Sweden the way it works right now. And they are the same party that in the election of 2014, yes, the then leader talking about opening your hearts. And he said to people, thank you for choosing Sweden. And I mean, I am not against immigration per se. It all comes down to which kind of immigration. But to put it this way, Western immigration is usually good. Non-immigration is usually not good. And Islamic immigration is a disaster. Seelansen, how is the new police chief working out? I haven't heard anything on him yet. I'm not sure if he's... No, actually, the old police chief is still in office until February 18th. So the new one hasn't taken office yet. So we'll see what happens. But I think the new one is... where did he come from? He's from he's from the security police. There's another name in English for those, but well, he's from the security police. But I don't know much about him yet. The Cayman says, "Congrats on the subs. Keep it going." Thank you very much, Cayman. I will, and thank you for the donation of $5. That's great. Thank you very much. As it said, it is funny that those that call us racist essentially say you're racist against a group that is incapable of being successful without help. The soft bigotry of low... Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that doesn't help anyone. And everyone should be held to the same standards. I mean, basically. Of course, you could argue about people who are physically or mentally handicapped and stuff like that. But shouldn't lower your expectations just because someone happens to have a different religion, a different color, a different ethnicity, that is racism, really. Adjik Padjik says, when do you think your book will be out? I was aiming for last Christmas, but that didn't work out. I'm writing you 4 articles for the book every month. It's kind of a collection of articles. So now I'd like Easter, but I think probably to the summer. As it says, your race doesn't make you inferior by default. Exactly, no matter if you're white, black, brown, or whatever. As it says, I need to get all videos again. Yeah, you should. I mean, I kind of get, if I haven't made a video in a few days, I get kind of nervous. I need to make a video, even if I do other stuff too. Like I'm writing articles for a Swedish newsletter, and I'm also writing articles sometimes for a Norwegian alternative media site, and things like that. So other stuff to do too. And there are some things coming up that I can't really mention yet. But once it's up in a few days, I can mention it. But it will be a language that also you won't understand. I think Lars Agavik will understand the language because you're Danish. Let's see. You can on more Swedes live in country. From what I've seen, emigration from Sweden has increased in the last maybe 5 years, something like that. And I mean, I don't know how detailed these statistics are, so they should actually be dug into to see who leaves Sweden, where were they born, what kind of jobs do they have, what kind of education do they have, how much do they make a year, and things like that to see. Because I assume maybe a few people leave Sweden who were not born in Sweden, and not all of them are bad either. It could be people came to Sweden from Eastern Europe or something like that, and who goes back home because they think Sweden is lost. And there could, but I also assume that a lot of the people who leave Sweden are people with skills, people who would be valuable to society, but who choose to take their business elsewhere. Let's see. Lagerbeck. In Denmark, the Social Democrats have a proposal to in North Africa. It's an old DF, Dansk Folkeparti, the Danish People's Party proposal, really. Have you heard anything similar, Eden? Not really. I mean, you should expect the Sweden Democrats to say something like that, and maybe they did, but I haven't heard anything. But as I think Danish politicians seem to be a lot saner than the Swedish ones. I mean, when you compare Sweden and Denmark has crazy taxes. So does Sweden. Sweden and Denmark are competing about who has the highest taxes. But when it comes to cultural things, Denmark seems to be a lot more conservative than Sweden. Sealansen says, if you need help editing or printing your chapters, I offer my free services. Oh, thank you very much, Sealansen. I have a proofreader who is fluent in English, so I should be fine, but I really appreciate it. The Cayman, what do you think about the Italian elections coming up? I have to admit, I haven't following Italy at all. I mean, I heard there's an election coming up, and that's kind of all I know. I mean, I follow hundreds of stories all the time, but some things will get past me because I get information overload. Even though I collect information, as its complexity. I know there's a lot of overlap here, but I've been saying for a while that the issue is leftist. Here in America, Democrats, leftists, and liberals are all generally lumped together. Well, yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. Here, but if you're below the surface, the difference between a leftist and the other two is astronomical. I loathe leftists as much as I can, and in short of actually hating them, I try not to hate, and that takes a lot of prayer because they really get on my nerves. Pamela Evans, is that how it Evans? Shink says, have you been following Tommy Robinson's coverage in Germany? there seems to be an uprising. How long before something blows in Europe? I saw a video from Germany with Tommy Robinson. It was yesterday. Yeah, it seems like, at least in old Eastern Germany, or old East Germany, things are happening. And I also heard that the leader of the Social Democrats in Germany, Martin Schulz, a lot of his party are angry with him because he accepted being foreign minister for in the same government as Angela Merkel, who is supposedly on the other side, although I think of them all as a kind of left liberals. But anyway, so I don't know, maybe Germany will wake up before Sweden. That would be interesting, because Sweden is kind of like Germany, and actually I thought Germany was even more well repressed. Germans, I think, this is what I think about Germany, and I could be wrong, but I think Germans suffer from an extreme case of white guilt, because they have the whole host going on, or I mean, they have that in pretty recent history, which made, if you say something that's not politically correct, you are death scared of being called a Nazi. And I think the people who follow my channel, by now they know that I am nothing but a Nazi. I mean, I am as far from a Nazi as you could get. I mean, I sometimes get comments from people who would like to get me in that camp, but I'm not. But if you're, for instance, if you're critical of Muslim immigration in Germany, you might get called you might be called a Nazi, even though anti-Semitism the rise in Germany because of Muslim immigration. Let's see. Lars Agerbeck says, as a Christian, what do you think of the pre-Christian artifact being melted at metal in Sweden? I think that's horrible. I mean, it's indefensible. We should keep history. I mean, we should preserve history, whether it is Christian or pre-Christian or whatever. Pamela Evans-Schenk says, yes, I agree. My husband and his family are Germans. I can't be to your husband. I mean, I could see if you can't talk to his family. Well, that's a difficult one. I have old friends, or I had old friends. They're not my friends anymore because they thought I went racist or something like that. I didn't, but they thought so because they didn't understand the difference between being up to Islam and disliking brown people. And I had relatives too who stopped talking to me. But I can't really do anything about that. If they don't talk to me because they don't agree, what can you do? We of the people, how did you meet your fiance? We have through a mutual friend. He came, and what is it with the term? In the US, everyone has been calling each other racist for so long it doesn't even mean anything anymore. I think there is still real racism out there, but I think a lot of things are called racism without being racist. For instance, being opposed to Islam is being opposed to an idea. That's not racist. But a lot of people will confuse that. How do I put it? They will think that being opposed to this idea is racist. Sealand says, how can people think race and ideology are the same? Well, because a lot of people are not thinking, they're just emoting. William, to you for a while now, and I'll say there's not a racist bone in me. I don't think so. Sealand says, the audio is usually better. Usually, I'm recording with my camera, and that audio might be better. I bought these headphones with mix in America. Hey man, I'm sorry, audio is bad. Yeah, I don't even know what to do. Right now, I can't do anything. But last week when I watched the live stream, the connection was horrible. It seems like it connects better this time. Now I'm back in my own place, and I'm the only one using the internet. That could be helpful in this case. Hmm. Okay, assets. Oh, I think it's a connection. It could be a connection. I don't know. Society of dependence. How much has feminism to do with the problems Sweden is facing? A lot, I'd say. I used to say that political correct, and that includes third wave feminism, is the inner threat in the West, while Islam is the outer threat. Pamela Evans Schenk says, what do you think about the identitarian movement in Europe? They make a lot of good points about immigration, but I am concerned about some superficial similarities to the Nazi Party. I am not really comfortable with the identitarian movement. I might agree with them on some of their points when it comes to immigration, but I think that identitarianism really started on the left, and they started with all these identity politics, and then people on what you might call the right, or whatever we should call them, took this up and thought, okay, we're gonna do identity politics. Why shouldn't we? I don't think it helps anyone, but I probably agree with them on points when it comes to immigration, and I can't really condemn all of them. Beck says, what do you think of Trump's attack on Me Too? I think I might have missed that. If it's a recent thing, I might have missed that. I'm not sure. What did he say? Maybe I should Google it and see if someone responds while I'm Googling. See, Trump, Me Too, attack. Oh, it's a very recent thing. Uh, Donald Trump lashes at Me Too movement. People deserve due process, according to TMC.com. Without reading the actual article, that sounds like a sane statement. I mean, when it comes to Me Too, some of the things are real problems, and some of the things are just stupid. And we don't want any witch hunts, right? Demarcation. Hi, my friend. What's going on? Oh, hello, Demarcation. I'm live streaming, and right now I'm mostly talking to the chat. What's going on with you? I think Europe will be in flames within a few decades. I think parts of Europe already are in flames. You have cars burning in Sweden, maybe not every night, or maybe it is every night. It's a lot of that. And you have similar things going on in France. I think France was the one that, and in Sweden politicians said, but that's not going to happen to Sweden because we have functioning integration politics and stuff like that. And now the same things are happening in Sweden. Lars Hagebeck says, Me Too exploded in Sweden compared to Denmark. What about Norway? Me Too is a lot bigger in Sweden than in Norway. But we had a few cases here in Norway too. One of the cases was leader of Venstre, the Liberal Party in Norway, and she is now in the government. That's a crazy story. But as far as I understand, the story is true. Demarcation. Well, as you know, I live in Italy, but I am Dutch. March is an interesting month with regional elections in Holland and national ones in Italy. So are you still a Dutch citizen, Demarcation? Or have you traded in for an Italian passport? So which election do you get to vote in? Asset says, I'd rather take stores before the shed and pull an old yeller, not pay for his jail sentence. If that means what I think it means, I agree. Actually, one of my more controversial views, to live in Scandinavia, is that I support the death penalty, given, of course, that we really are sure of that the person did what he or she has been accused of. So there wouldn't be a Me Too thing there. This has to be solid evidence. But for instance, I think that the Stockholm terrorist who will stand trial, I think he should be executed. But when I tell Swedes that, they look at me funnily because you don't do that. The Cayman says, don't forget to donate. Oh, I second that opinion. Thank you very much, Cayman. Okay, demarcation. Okay, you're Dutch. So there were regional elections in the Netherlands. It will be interesting to see what happens there. Is there still some hope for Geert Wilders' party in the Netherlands demarcation? Demarcation says source is a clear and present danger. I agree. That's one of the guys I really don't like. I heard his, well, from Davos, I heard him talking about Trump and how Trump wanted a mafia government and stuff like that. That was just crazy. Demarcation, let's see. I'll write and see if. What do you think situation would be for Geert Wilders' party in the Netherlands in the regional elections? William Marshall, Soros is pumping millions into Britain to reverse Brexit. I am sure he does. I think, I remember the Brexit referendum. I was following that one on British TV. And I fell asleep because I was following when they were counting all the votes. And I fell asleep at night thinking that there wouldn't be a Brexit. Then I woke up in the morning and there was a Brexit win. But I don't dare to believe in Brexit until I see it. Adik Padik, demarcation, according to the Guardian, having anything other than love for Soros is anti-Semitic. I'm sure the Guardian would say something like that, and that's just stupid. I mean, George Soros is funding anti-Israel movements. Demarcation. Well, Geert is doing his best, but I believe and vote for Thierry Baudet. He is FVD. I'm not really sure who they are. The name Baudet sounds more French than... Oh, right. Now, what is the FVD? Pamela Evans-Schink, do you think it is necessary for people to reconnect with their Christian roots? Rebirth of Christianity and even Judaism, but not to allow Islam to fill the void? Yes, Pamela, in short, yes. Political correctness cannot fight Islam. Socialism can't fight Islam because with Islam you are willing to kill for your beliefs. With political correctness, you're not. You will submit. The only thing that can stand against Islam, I think, in the West is Christianity. You could argue Judaism too, because that's what's going on in Israel. They are standing up. And Pamela also asked me, what do you think of Douglas Murray? I think I should look into him more. What I've heard is good, but I haven't. I have so much stuff to do and watch and read all the time, so I haven't taken the time yet to study him more closely. Lars Agerbeck says, how about all this imminent with Russia propaganda in Sweden? Have you experienced any of that? You know, people don't talk much about that. Not the people that I meet and talk, but I have seen that there is this narrative going on that Sweden should be afraid of Russia. I'd say this. I am not pro-Putin or pro-Russia. I have a family history. My grandparents came from Finland, and my grandfather had to fight the Soviets to not have his country occupied. But I don't think Russia is the biggest threat to Sweden. I think that the threat to Sweden is political correctness and Islamization. Okay, both Pamela Evans-Schink and Society of Dependence tell me to read The Strange Death Europe by Douglas Murray. And Pamela says that there are also many YouTube interviews. I could watch some of these interviews. I'm behind on my schedule today because there were so many things I needed to get done, and time is just flying. And I thought I was going to spend maybe an hour doing this, but let's say we'll round up in about 30 minutes. But an interesting thing is that when I flew over to America on January 19th, I had about 2,400 subscribers. And while in America, I surpassed 3,000. And then, since then, I grew with 1,000. So something happened, and I think my Civil War video was really the key here. Demarcation audio sucks, my friend. I'm going to donate to you towards a good make. You deserve it. Okay, thank you. I will need to look into what kind of make I need to buy. Because what I'm wearing right now is a $13 thing, so something I found at, I think, Walmart. Yeah, I think that was the Walmart. I can't really tell the one from the other in America. Walmart, Target, whatever. Lars Adlerbeck, what do you think of Western aid to the world? It could be helpful if it's done the right way, but that's really hard. That's really difficult because in many cases, the Western aid to the third world turned into kind of global welfare, and it hasn't really helped anyone. I mean, for instance, take Tanzania in southeastern Africa. They have actually reduced poverty from having almost everyone being dirt poor to about half of the population being dirt poor, which is still a lot of poor people, but less than before. And how did they do this? Not through receiving foreign aid, through moving towards free market policies. Oh, demarcation says buy American. So I bought this one in America, but I don't really know where they produced it actually. As it says, there should be no government mandated charity anywhere. Oh, we're talking about foreign aid. As it also says, there are strong studies and correlations that show the more that we are forced to do government, the less we choose to do. If the government took less of my money, I'd have more to donate. I agree. And having seen the difference between Wisconsin and Canada, I agree even more. Just realizing how there are Lutheran social services in Wisconsin that are funded by their members, not by government. And they help people to, well, get by in life and to get a job and things like that, instead of becoming welfare clients who depend on the system for years and years, maybe for the rest of their life. Because the problem with welfare systems in many cases are that, okay, on the one hand, government may want people to work, but they also want people to be loyal to the system, and they need people to vote for them. So, yeah, I think you know what I mean. It came as what's going on in Malmö. A lot of things are going on in Malmö. There was a gang rape recently, or supposedly. And the police in Rosengård, one of the Novo areas, they want to move after being attacked with hand grenades a few weeks ago. So if the police thinks the area is not safe, what are the people living there going to say? I mean, not all of them are bad, but I mean, really. Let's see. Pamela Evans-Schink says, what do you think about the future of the Lutheran Church in Sweden? similar situations in the U.S. The Lutherans I met in the U.S. seem to be a lot more Christian than the Lutherans in Sweden. But of course, I would meet with conservative Lutherans. And there are conservative Lutherans in Sweden too. But the mainstream Lutheran Church, the Church of Sweden, they are more or less just a leftist organization dressed up as a church. It's really horrible. I think I wrote a chapter on that in my book. Otherwise, good. I have to look over my texts. But I mention it in a few different chapters too. As it says, trans global welfare. I love that term, Swede. Oh, did I say that? I said something about global welfare, yes. Yes, what? Yes, the Cayman says Malmö, new no-go zone. What happened in Malmö was the Jews started leaving and they moved to Stockholm or to Israel. And now native Swedes have started to leave too. And I think really everyone who is assimilated into Sweden is trying to leave Malmö. And Malmö is living on government benefits. And it is kind of working out, but only kind of. But what happens when all of Sweden turns into a big Malmö? Who is going to make sure that Sweden doesn't go bankrupt? As it says, the other truth about that trans global welfare is that it doesn't go to people, it goes to warlords, thugs, dictators, and tyrants. Yes, that's usually it goes. Pamela Evans-Schenk says, I meant the same thing is happening in most mainline churches here. Many congregations are splitting. Yeah, I think that happens in America too. I mean, of course, it happens everywhere. As a Christian, I'd say God always saves a remnant. And I think the U.S., at least the main U.S., maybe not the East Coast and the West Coast, but the mainland U.S. has a stronger Christian culture than Western Europe does. But of course, you're going to have a lot of crazy churches too. Cayman says, people say that Soros is the most evil man in the world. He would make my top list at least, that's for sure. Sennheiser-Mick, I'll write that down, demarcation. Sennheiser-Mick is what you need. I'll write that down immediately. Sennheiser-Mick. Okay, I'll Google that and check out what that is, demarcation. You know, I learned technology slowly. If it hadn't been for a certain someone who is teaching me technology, I would still have been using the same program I used when I started in January last year, which would have been horrible, because I have compared old videos to my new ones, and I gotta say my new ones are better. Lars Agerbeck says, would you give up the occupation of Skåne, Halland, Blekinge, and return it to their fatherland, Denmark? If you ask me, Denmark can have... I think that we can look at the map we have on the ground right now. I mean, I have a friend who likes to argue that Britain get the U.S. back because he says the temporarily independent colonies, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think we have to accept reality the way it is in some case. But if people in Skåne, Halland, and Blekinge would prefer to join Denmark again, I wouldn't have an argument against that. That's fine. But you would get Malmö too then. The site of dependence says, what do you think of Peter Sweden? I've been watching him for a while, and I've been a little unsure of him. But I think from what I've seen lately, he seems to be fine. I'm sure, but I think so. I hope he'll respond to my tweets eventually, and we can we talk more in person. It'll be interesting. He actually moved to Norway too. That's funny, but he lives in another part of Norway than I do. So maybe we could meet halfway or do a Google Hangout or something. The Cayman says your English is great. Oh, thank you. Dick Pye says, what are your views on the EU? I don't like the EU. I think we can have agreements on free movement on this. We can have free trade or even free movement of people between countries, I mean EU countries, without having a super state in Brussels. We don't need the EU. We can have independent states having agreements with each other. You can't really compare that to the US as some people do, because the US has the same language, the same currency, the same culture, and if you are unemployed in Nevada, you can go to Idaho and start working there if it's better there. If you're unemployed in Finland, you can't really go to France and work there because you won't know the language. It's just a lot different. Pamela Evans Schenk says, oh, let's see, what do you think of Anglophone? I am slightly positive to him. I enjoy his videos, but got different styles. The Cayman says, which will be the first EU country to fall to Islam and Sharia law? Maybe UK, maybe Sweden, maybe France, I don't know. As a Swede, are you familiar with this phenomenon in the US with Black Americans and the fact that they lead conservative lives? It's here to conservative ideals, but almost as a group of liberal. I have heard of that, and I think there is a minority of Black Americans who are conservatives for real and get called all kinds of names. William Marshall says, I have to go. Thank you for your efforts. Take care and God bless, my friend. Well, thank you very much and God bless you too. Lars Beck, what is your favorite Swedish alternative media? You mean besides the Swede Speaks? Let's see. Good question. I mean, I read some news, I read Tider, but I'm a little careful with Fria Tider. Their news reporting is obviously fine, but that's a good question. I guess I could see Amerikanska nyhetsanalyser, America's analysis, my friend on his podcast. Dick Pike, I think EA is definitely a contender. We have already won revenge attack at the mosque. I hope it's not us though. Sometimes there's infighting between Muslims too, so you don't really know. I mean, if a Shia mosque attacks, it could be the Sunnis, or it could, of course, be a British or whatever. If someone attacks the Shia, it could be both the Sunni and the Shia, because they really don't like them. As it says, my favorite Swedish alternative media is the Swede Speaks. Thanks, Asif. Cayman says the sound is getting worse, so I will check out now. Great job. Well, okay, thank you. Sorry about the sound. I'll have to work on that. Maybe I'm better mic, or I guess I do need a better mic. I intend to do this every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central European time, which is 9 p.m. time, 4 p.m. New York time, and 3 p.m. Chicago time, and so on. I guess let's see. Can I move this thing? Okay, question for Lars Beck and anyone else, or is the sound better now? I'm really curious right now, because I'm running a single comment right now. Okay, thank you, Lars Beck. A little, the mic probably too far from my mouth, all in addition to, it might not be the best mix. These headphones are something that as I said, I bought them for $13 in the Midwest. Madison on the attack in the UK. Yeah, and the Ahmadiyya, they are usually pretty peaceful. And I mean, the only Muslims I would say are pretty peaceful. Demarcation, don't worry about my friend, you're doing fine. Just need something to get the operations working better. We should all support you. I'm all for that, demarcation. And yeah, I'm slowly improving my channel, and usually I improve it in jumps, and then stay on the same level for a few months, and then I learn something new, I do something else. That's the way it's done it since last year. Wonder, maybe I should wrap it up now. Seems like it's getting a little slower, and not that many people come anymore. So, does anyone have anything more to add before I wrap it up? I'll have a coffee and see if something happens. Well, Evans Chink, have you ever received threats for speaking up? I've gotten comments that were threatening. I mean, a Swede, or I assume it was a Swede because he was writing in English, but then he added a sentence in Swedish and said he would beat the SHIT out of me if he saw me on town. I didn't really take that seriously because people can be pretty tough when they're sitting at their keyboard. So shall I be back? How about it? Wrong. I haven't really listened actively to ABBA for years. Yeah, Dancing Queen is fun. Super Trooper is kind of it. Demarcation, just a good. Do you follow Björn Brook? No, I don't know what that is, but I could look into it. Could be interesting. Write that down. Björn Brook. Winner to Doll, says Ajik. Yeah, that's a song. It's gone. It got some of it. Now that the left really hate ABBA, which kind of makes them want to do it. Because ABBA were not political in the 70s in Sweden. It says native Europeans moved to Poland. Well, yeah, we could add. I'm not because I'm moving somewhere else, but you should be careful who you let into Poland. You should make sure you're not getting all the crazy leftists into Poland. Okay, then they can. I work out here on book, even though Amen Foundation makes me a little skeptical, but I'll check in. Asset I run. Time to hang with the ghost. I'll bounce. Wonderful seeing and chatting. Yeah, that's for asset. Have a nice day or a nice week. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up now. Even though it's late. It's pretty late night here actually, but I have something I need to get done before I can call it. So thank you very much for hanging with me, and until time, have a nice day. God bless.